Making it Monday. It's March the 6th and we're going to make Hikari tonight, and you might wonder, how on earth did I pick that name? Well, we've got having a kind of Japanese themed month. Japanesey, that's perhaps the wrong thing to say, but blues and lots of linen, sort of natural colours, tones of blues, that type of thing. And I chose the fabric for my sample to show you with like a Japanese style fabric. It's just too delicious, isn't it? Is there a thread there? I can see a thread. Let me get rid of it. My room is covered in threads, surprisingly. I've been doing some quilting today, and I had to change the threads so many times because I think I needed to change my needle. I also need to clean my machine. I need to do a little bit of maintenance because the thread kept breaking, and that's my fault. That's nothing to do with the machine. If your threads ever break, it's usually user error. I just have to say that. So I just thought I'd let you know. Yes, so I hope you're okay. What's this? Wendy says, got the last tin of peanut butter cookies out of the oven just in time. Thank goodness for that, Wendy. You pop them round, yeah, because I like them warm. So just leave them on the side of my desk there, and I'll nibble as we go through the evening. Peanut butter cookies, how lovely. So good evening, everybody. I hope you're all well. Got lots of people joining us. There's Kath. Hello, Kath. We've got Cindy and Joyce and Karen. We've got Jackie. We've got Cheryl and Sandra and Janice. Lots and lots of people joining us. Hopefully we're live on YouTube as well. I never do check these days, and I should really. I should have it up on my screen at the same time so I can comment. But I know you're all there. I know you're all there. I think you're all smashing, and I don't pick people out and not others. You know what I mean? I'd probably better quit while I'm ahead here. I'm just going to log on to my page here just so I can see what's happening. Gosh, it's a funny screen I've got up there. Anyway, moving on. So you'll notice that I'm in front of a quilt. This is the quilt I finished today. It's a sample quilt. It's been made especially for my new wonky squares templates that are coming out maybe the end of the week. Depends on what gets delivered on time and how quickly I can pack them up. And actually, although it looks like diamonds, it's not. They're actually made up from squares. Can you believe it? And they're called wonky squares. And I was just before the live, I was trying to figure out where the square was because I've stipple quilted it quite a lot. It's now, I don't know if you realise that, but when you quilt something, especially stipple quilting, it almost makes your seams invisible because your eye is going all over the place and you can't see where your seams are. So when I might have said to you in the past about, oh, don't worry about if it doesn't quite line up, and don't get too het up. Don't try to be a perfectionist. That's what I'm trying to say, because when you go to quilt it, especially if you stipple quilt, you kind of lose it. You don't see it. And I was really seriously trying to find the square just before I went live, and I couldn't find it. And I know it's here somewhere. Look, there's a line, there's a seam line. So I think, yes, that is my square. That is my square. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And so it's actually made up in squares, and you wouldn't think that was, would you? Because it looks like a kind of offset diamond. I quite like it. Anyway, it's the blues, you see, it's the blues, and in there, and in actual fact, the back, let me move that, it's like tan colours, so we're kind of ticking all the boxes of the colours of the month, which is sort of linens, beigey colours, and blues, and those tones of blues, which is always pretty. And actual fact, I think blues is the most popular colourway that you would perhaps choose. If you look at your fabrics, and for instance, if you're doing Abigail's 12-week course, her quilting course, have a look at all the pictures of people's selections of fabrics, and I bet anything you like, blues tend to stand out, unless you're Abby, in which case she's chosen really bright Tula colours, which of course you would. Anyway, we're going to make this tonight, so we won't sort of hang about. Now then, the difference between this bag and any other you might come across is that we're using a embroidery hoop. So hold on, let me get mine. We're using an embroidery hoop, just like that, okay? And I'm going to use a 6-inch tonight, but this one is a 7-inch. So you'll be able to see the difference in the size. It's quite a bit, to be honest. But this still makes, well, I'm hoping it will fit in now I've thought about it. It actually makes a really nice, strong handle, especially how we're going to do it. I do suggest that you get an embroidery hoop, because the idea of the pattern is that we do something different to other folk, and using these is definitely different. Obviously you can buy bag handles, I'm not going to stop you doing that, it's your pattern once you bought it, but it's just fun. And the other thing is we're using wadding and bias binding for the handles. We don't use it anywhere else, so it kind of makes a mockery of the pattern, really, because you wouldn't be using it, and the rest is then quite simple. There's no wadding in the bag, by the way. There's no wadding here at all. It's all just your 2 layers of fabric, basically. That's all you need. Anyway, it's a lovely pattern. It's lovely and soft to handle. This is really quite strong, but you're not going to carry 5 pound of potatoes in there. Like any bag, you know, you've got to be respectful. The workings, and we'll do this as we go along, but the workings, i.e. this bit, is actually, I bury it in there. It probably will, you know, this, I don't know which side it's on, to be honest, but whichever side it's on, of course the handle can move, so you want to consider that and just keep an eye on that as you're using it. And also where you start and stop your wadding and your binding, you'll see it. We'll do that as we go along, you'll soon see. I'm just going to refresh my screen because I've frozen on my screen. Off and away, isn't it? I wonder why that happens. Always happens on my phone. I go to start watching the live and it totally freezes on me, which is a nuisance because I'd like to keep up in real time with the comments and everything. There we are, that's better. Yes, so Hikari, so it's a Japanese girl's name, and it's called Bold and Beautiful. That's what it's meant to be. And of course this is bold and it's quite beautiful. So that's why we're making it. A quick reminder, because we've nearly got full capacity now watching, and you can always watch back if you're not sure. A couple of things. Firstly, please don't forget, when you buy your pattern, or when you acquire your pattern, you need to download it and save it. So many times we get people coming back to us, you know, 6 months later, a year, 2 years later, saying, well, I bought the pattern, but now I can't get it. Well, you'll notice on the front of my website, it says quite clearly that it's 30 days. It's pretty standard. It's pretty standard throughout the industry. It's 30 days you have to download the pattern. It maybe have something to do with memory and capacity on the website. I have no idea, but that is pretty standard. You have 30 days to download and save it to your files. So make a little Lizzie file and pop it in there. It also says that on the email confirmation. So if you read the email confirmation, it actually says you have 30 days to download this. Now, one of the things we won't do ever is to resend out a Making It Monday project, because they're so affordable. It costs us more in time and labour to send it out to you. So, you know, resend on an email. So it's just keeping that in mind when you do buy the pattern, to download and save it straight away, because I'm afraid we won't resend it. If you are a member of my online group, that's a different matter. That's a different matter. But if you're not a member of my online group, I'm afraid we won't resend them. So just bear that in mind. And also all of the digital passes, so that's June, July, August, September, October, November and December, I'm going to start removing those from, you know, the links and everything from Making It Monday group and the website, okay, because it's cluttering up the place now. So I need to do a little bit of housekeeping, makes a change. And so I'm going to start deleting the digital passes. So if you haven't downloaded your patterns from the digital passes, then please do that later today or tomorrow, and then you won't get access anymore. So just a little bit of housekeeping there for you. Anyway, let's crack on and do a bit of sewing. I'm going to put it down on the floor. There's an awful lot of threads on the floor, so it's going to pick up a load. Oh, Pam, hello, not been around for a while. Lovely to be back. Well, it's lovely to see you, Pam. How lovely. Sandy says, hi, love this pattern. Well, yeah, so do I, Sandy. I wonder why. So there's certain measurements that will be taken as we go through the pattern. And, oh, frozen again. I'm not really frozen. I'm actually quite warm. But I will... this is really weird, isn't it, why that keeps freezing? But if it freezes, I'll just ignore it, because I've got all your names there, so that's fine. Yes, there's certain measurements that I will have to do and to do markings and things, and I will come back to the front camera for that, because it's the part of the pattern, all the measurements and everything, which I'm not prepared to sort of just give out willy-nilly. So there will be some things that you'll see now that I'll come to front camera, mark it, come back to you. If you've bought the pattern, if you've got the pattern, if you're a platinum member and you've got the pattern, you'll know what the measurements are. It's all in the pattern. That's the joy of having the pattern. That's what we love. As a small business, that's what we love. And we love you for supporting us. So let me just get my fabrics lined up. So if we start from the very, very beginning, because it's now 10 past, I've not done a thing. There's my fabric. So this is my outer fabric. So I've got two pieces. Now they're big pieces. You know that because you've seen, if you've bought the pattern, you've seen the sizes that we're talking about. So I've got, this is my lining. So I'm choosing the same lining as I had in my sample. And this is my outer fabric, okay? So remember that as we go along, but I will always tell you whether I'm stitching the lining or the outer fabric. So the first thing you need to do, and I've already done it once, but I'll do it again, is to get your hoop, whether it's a 6-inch or a 7-inch, it matters not, but get your hoop, and on the bottom edge, so if you look at my little hearts, they're all coming down this way. So this is my bottom edge. You're just going to use your hoop, pop it in the corner, yeah, and then you're just going to draw around your hoop. Okay, you only need to do it on one layer of fabric. You just about see it there. I wonder if it might be better if I use black. One moment while I get to my black pen. I won't pick up a Sharpie. I've done that before now. Oh my word. Yes, let's try it with black. Let's see. I don't know, I'll try and do it really, really dark. But it's great because you've got the hoop. There we are. Is that better? Yes. So you've got the hoop, and so we're going to use it to our advantage, and that's going to take our corners off. So if I move this along, keep my layers there. Obviously you don't want the metal bit anywhere near. And we're going to draw around that again. Okay, there we go. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I nearly said lovely jubbly. One of the, was it one of the footballers that said that the other day? Somebody said lovely jubbly, and it just didn't seem to fit. Didn't fit the character. Right, I'm going to pop a pin through my layers. Okay, might have been better if I'd done it that side, but never mind. I'm going to pop a pin through my layers because that keeps everything in place, okay? Because we're going to cut all 4 layers at the same time. So don't get too worried about it. Don't get too hung up about it. I'm going to use my rotary cutter, but obviously you can use scissors. So I'm just going to push through. Obviously mind your fingers. I'm being extra careful because bleeding while you're live demonstrating is not ideal. I was bleeding while I was filming the other day, my own fault. I said to John, you'll have to edit that bit out. So again, I'm just coming around. Ideally, you want to hold this other fabric down, but I just don't want to get my fingers in the way. So I'm just working my way around. There we are, that's perfect. I'm happy with that. Okay. So now the other thing about this pattern is that you don't need to have this printed out. And I should have put this on the actual sorry, should have put that on the actual pattern, that you don't need a printout because you're using the hoop to cut your fabrics. Right, so the next thing we're going to do in the pattern, I'm going to turn this around so you don't get confused. This is the top of our bag here, okay? This is the top, and I'm going to measure down my two sides. Okay, so this is my two sides. So I'm just going to pleat that, and you'll see in the pattern I pleated it so I could get it in one picture for you. See if I can do that easily. There we go, that's better. So this is the top. And I'm going to measure down these sides, and I'm going to measure on the wrong side of my fabric on all 4 layers. So my 2 outer pieces and my 2 lining pieces, they're all going to get that first measurement that's in the pattern. Okay, and it's quite clear in the pattern what it is. And if you've got the pattern and you're reading off it, please don't say in the comments what that measurement is. Because that's the idea, that you support a small business. Really, honestly, I've got a whole team of people that need baked beans for tea, and you know what? Yeah. So I'm measuring down, and like I said, in your pattern, it will show you exactly how much. So let me just line this up on my bag, and you need to do this on the wrong side of your fabric, okay, on the wrong side, and you need to do it on both sides. So in effect you're making 8 marks, and I'll show you the marks when I come back to you, so just bear with. I hope you've all had a good day. I've had an extremely busy day as usual. I needed to finish this quilt behind me before the end of the week, really. Hopeful that I can start then advertising the templates. I don't know, I know my members in my online sewing group have seen them, and I'm hoping that everybody will love them. And they're called Wonky Squares. And you'll see why when you see the pictures, when you see me demonstrate. I've got to do a little video for them. Bear with, I'm nearly done. I'm being a bit slow. I don't know what's happening in my ruler, but it's going all over the place. Yes, so I'll be doing a little video, and if anybody that buys the Wonky templates, they get a leaflet with a free pattern in. So, you know, all of that work needs to be done. And yeah, it's very exciting, very exciting, very exciting. Okay, so there's my top of my bag again. So as we were, okay, there's the top. And I want you to see that each side I have marked down here and here, okay? And then if I go to my lining, well, this is the outer actually. No, this is the lining, this is the outer. I've marked it here and I've marked it here. And then on the other side, the same again. If I haven't, I should be very cross. Here, okay, and here, just about see it. And if I flick my outer fabric, here and here. Okay, so Pat says she loves the Wonky Squares, can't wait to order. Yeah, it's, thank you Violet as well. Oh yeah, it's just lovely, and we've got lots of projects been made. Kath has made a super project. I'm not going to tell you what it is, I'm going to keep it all secret until the day. Kath has made a project which is just amazing, and our lovely Trisha Boyd, who often is on our lives here, she's made a couple of bits for me as well. I've made the quilt that's behind me, and of course our fabulous new pattern, which is Mashiko rather, is also one of the patterns as well. So what I'm doing is I'm getting one outer and one lining. I knew this would be difficult because they're so big. And I've put a pin there so I know that's the top. So let's take the pin out now. So I'm putting right sides together. Okay. And just bring that down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pin. I'll get those top corners matched up. as best I can, and I'm going to pin from that first mark, which is there. Let me see if I can make that any darker. I don't think I can. Trouble is the lights always wash these things out. Oh, there we are, I can see it better now. So I'm going to put a pin in that mark there, and likewise on this side. Just going to match my corners up. If you cut it well, you should be okay, but I'm not guaranteeing my cutting is good at all. So this is the top of the bag, okay? So we're going to stitch all the way around. So I'll just pop a pin in, so it reminds you that we're just going to stitch across the top and sides of our bag. And we're going to do this twice. So we're going to stitch from here all the way around to here, and we're going to do it on the same with the other two pieces, okay? This is just one outer and one lining, right sides together. We'll stitch from there all the way around to there, okay? Hope that's okay for you. So we'll just bring the machine in. My poor little machine, that's desperate now for a clean. Oh, I've lost my mouse, hold on. Desperate now for a clean. Hold on, let me just move out. It's always in my way, that mouse. It'll get a nice little clean tomorrow. You just got to be kind to me this evening. So 1/4 inch seam allowance, thereabouts. Don't get too hung up if it's a little bit more than that, or even a little bit less. A little bit more is always better. So I'm coming down onto, I'm going to put my needle into my mark. I've taken my, sorry, I'm getting my foot control. And we're just going to do a little back stitch, nothing too ugly, and 1/4 inch thereabouts all the way around. There we go. Oh, that's probably a bit too far, so I'll go back a stitch. There we go. So coming along the top, I'm going to lengthen my stitch, otherwise we'll be here all night. And all the way along the top. It's a nice easy make, and covering the hoops is really quite fun. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I did making it. I really enjoyed it. I kind of had an epiphany moment. I can't remember, I must have seen something like maybe I was thinking of the embroidery hoops and thinking there must be something else we can do with them other than embroidery. So just coming down that other side and coming down to where my second mark is. So this is the top we're stitching. So if you remember, we've curved the bottom, so we don't need to stitch the bottom just yet. What's this? Leslie says she's still got a scrapbook class to catch up on. Oh, what's this? Are you all a bit busy, Leslie? What is? I can't see. Love this pattern. My mum made me a knitted bag many years ago, and very similar. Yes, there are some similar bags about, but they don't use the embroidery hoops like we're going to. Well, not that I know of. I'm just clipping my corners. Okay. I'm going to just check on the other side to make sure I've caught it. No, look, I didn't think I had. I don't know why, but I had a feeling in my water that I hadn't caught it. So I'll just stitch that again. Don't know why that was. So let's just do that. So it's good to check. It's good to check. It's never a mistake. It's always good to check. Gosh. I said to Abigail earlier on about the quilting that I did on my new quilt today, and I said, well, it's not perfect, but you know what they say, Abby, only God can make things perfect. And she said, Abby. honestly only she could get away with saying that. And please don't be offended if you're a religious person. It wasn't meant to be offensive. I just thought it was quite funny, especially because Abigail said it. So I'm just pinning this. Now this is my second side, so I've got the second two pieces of lining and outer fabric. And oh, Leslie says she's very busy decorating. Oh, I could do with decorating. Oh my word. I don't think my poor body could cope though. Gosh, finding it difficult to walk these days. Never mind anything else. There we go. So let's just have another quick look at it. I'll just fold it so it's a little easier to see on the overhead. So this is our second pair. So we've got our right side and our wrong side, our outer and our lining, right sides together, and we're going to stitch from the mark we made up, across and down to the second mark we made. Okay. Pat says, I'm a religious person, laughed out loud, only Abby. Gosh, Pat, you are so right. And I was being, you know, quite sincere and what have you. And yes, you guess what she came out with. Honestly, there's no surprises with that gal. And I hope some of you have seen Adrienne's wonderful Daffy in the Making It Monday group. Adrienne is my eldest daughter who says she can't stitch, but she absolutely can. She's very slow and steady, so she doesn't rush anything, and because of that she makes a really good job of things. She's very careful, I suppose, whereas I tend to be a bit sort of slapdash these days because I've got so much to do. But she's very careful, and she made her Daffy, and it looks beautiful because she put one of her guinea pigs on the front. And I said, you're not allowed to advertise, Adrienne, because, you know, we're a group that doesn't advertise. But those people that know you know exactly where it came from. I said, but you really have to post that in the group. I said, it's beautiful. And her quilting is absolutely superb. Yeah, she's a clever girl. I think she's kind of like one of these that hides her light under a bushel, as they say. Yes, indeedy. So, yeah, good for her. I don't know who cut this fabric out, but gosh, they need sacking. It wasn't John. God, I couldn't sack him. Goodness gracious. He just about keeps me on the straight and narrow. We celebrated his birthday at the weekend, and we went out for a meal. It was just wonderful. We went out for a meal when it was my birthday a couple of weekends ago, and it was lovely, don't get me wrong. It was quite posh, but I don't know, I felt really uncomfortable. Sitting, I felt uncomfortable. And also we were next to some really loud people, and I'm just looking for my ironing mat. Of course I can't find it, it's over there, but I'll use my other one. Yes, they were really loud, and I thought, oh yeah, I can do without this. But it was a lovely meal. But when we went out on Saturday with John for his birthday, super. Absolutely super. Right, so there's my pieces. They're stitched together from those marks all the way around. I've snipped off the corners. I'm just going to turn it through and give them a quick press. And it's quite nice to give this a really nice press. So let's go overhead so we can see what I'm doing. It's a bit boring, but we'll show you anyway. So I'm just getting my pokey tool, and I'm just going into the corners and doing my best to get those corners nice and square, so with a point, and making them nice and pointy. Do the best you can. Don't push anything sharp through. And then we just want to give them a press, and what we want to do is to, excuse me licking my fingers, but you want to roll that top edge over, because that edge is really important when it comes to doing the last bit where we put it on the hoop. Okay, so it's really important that you keep that have a nice crisp edge. So just roll. I find just a little dampness on the finger You can't say spit, can you? That's awful. Just roll that seam out. Gosh, that's all coming out wrong tonight. And give that a lovely press. Do the best you can. I still see lots of projects that have not been near an iron, but come on, guys, don't take a minute, and it really makes a difference to your project when it's lovely and crispy. So that's one. Let's do the other. I've got to speed up a bit, otherwise we're not going to get it all done, because I haven't done anything in advance apart from cutting my fabric out and cutting my wadding, and I haven't even cut the binding. I'm using bought binding. You can obviously make your own, and once again we're just going to roll those seams out and give it a little squidge. And like I said just a minute ago, this bit is actually quite important to get a nice neat finish, because some versions of, I'm sorry if you've seen me licking my fingers, it's my bag, so it's okay. There's some versions of this style of bag, the fold over bit, if you like, goes to the inside of the bag. And actually this, if you're really careful with your turning gap, etc., this could be a reversible bag, just by that means alone. So yeah, it's quite a nice little pattern actually, I think. A bit biased, I know, but there we are. Okay, so now what we've got is our two pieces that have been stitched together like this, and in the pattern you'll recognise that, except I've kind of folded it like this so you can get it all in the picture. And we've got kind of one bit all stitched and one bit not. So now what we're going to do is to join our pieces together. I'm just going to check the pattern to make sure I tell you that's the next thing to do. Yes it is. Okay, just making sure. So what we want to do is you want to put your right sides together of your outer fabric. So obviously this is my outer fabric. This is the first one that I did. So this is going to be quite difficult to see on screen. I'm going to do it as best as I can. So you're going to put the right sides together of your outer fabric. So if I just give this a little oof. There we go. Better switch my iron off. Always hear it clicking in the background there. So this is my outer fabric. So you're just going to line up your bag pieces. Okay, one looks bigger than the other. That was because it's folded, perhaps. I don't know. Oh, that's okay. And what we're going to do, and this is what I said to you in the pattern, you might want to, when you watch the video, you'll see what I mean about the fact that you've got to get all of this lining out of the way, and you want to open that seam up, because if you open that up you will see the end of your stitching just there. Okay, so you need to kind of manipulate that, fold your lining back and open that out flat. You absolutely want to get the lining out of the way. It's not difficult, you just got to think about it. So there is the end of my stitching, just where my finger is there, and I'm going to line it up with the other side, and that's where we start stitching. Now if you leave a little gap because it's difficult for you to manipulate, maybe you know your hands are a bit dodgy these days, you know, I do appreciate that, then leave a little gap. It's not going to make a jot of difference, but you could do a little hand stitch at the end if you don't like it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start stitching from that point there where my pin is, and that's the end of my stitching. And the only reason why I know that, and I hope you can see that, is that because I use blue thread one side and cream another. There's a reason for that. And I'm just now going to stitch my two outer pieces together all the way around till I come to here. Okay, and obviously you're going to pin or clip that. I'm just going to go for it, but please pin and clip. I'm hoping it all fits together beautifully. I've got my fingers firmly crossed. So I hope that made some sense. We'll do the same obviously again with the lining. So we're going to repeat that all over again. So let's just bring that in. I've got my pin already positioned, but obviously I'm just going to pop my needle down just to grab my fabric. There we are, so my needle's down. So my needle is doing what my pin has just done. And then I'm just going to line my bag pieces up, put my foot down, little back stitch, just the one. You don't need anything clumsy. And then we're going to take it all the way around. So just make sure everything is lined up. And because this is quite a sweeping curve, you really don't need to clip into it. And if you do clip into it, you're making your seam weak. So I suggest you don't. Okay, you might be tempted. You know, you've got the 2 layers, so it should be strong enough. As long as you don't put a baby elephant in it, we'll all be fine. There was something else I was going to tell you and I've forgotten. Oh yes, so Abigail and I went to Duxford on Friday. That was absolutely super. I got some gorgeous fabrics. Do you want to have a quick look? Hold on, let me get them. I got them from, one set I got from Lady So-and-so, and I got a load of Tula, fat quarters. So look at, oh, it's just too much, too delicious. And these don't have a label. I don't know what the make is. I was going to find out what the make is. And again, a lovely, lovely rainbow of colours. Ah, lovely. So I got those. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet. No doubt we'll see them in a Making It Monday project in the future sometime. Yeah, so we had a lovely time there. We were only there perhaps just an hour and a half, not long. Because the thing is, we went for a particular reason. We're going to have a stall there in September, a stand. So we're very excited about that. And we went to see the position of the stand. So look, I'm just coming up to, you can see, I'm just coming up to the other part. So again, I'm flattening out my seam and I'm flattening out the opposite seam. So where my right sides are going together, I've just opened that up. I've got my lining out of the way and I'm going to stitch as close as I can to where I stopped stitching before. So that'll do nicely. Okay, so a couple of little back stitches and we're done. Let's see if I show you there. Let's see if I can do it so you can see. So there's my stitching on the first bit we did, we know where I had my first mark, and this is my second bit of stitching here. So I've gone as far as I dare to go to join that together, but I'm not too worried if I've got a little gap there, because I could always put a little hand stitch in there if it doesn't meet. So now we're going to do the same with our lining, and we've got to leave a turning gap in that bottom seam. So I'm just moving my fabrics around. So now I'm doing exactly the same again as I did before, and I'm finding where I stopped stitching, which is, it's got a bit caught up now, which is just there, and I'm going to start stitching there as best I can, and I'm going to go all the way around the bag. Now if you find any of that a little bit tricky, think about what I said. Before you ask a question, think about the words I've said. So you're starting stitching where you stopped stitching the first time around. So you've then now got a continuous line of stitching all the way around your bag. There's no gaps. But like I said, if you find that tricky, go as far as you can, and then you can always hand stitch. You know, when the bag's finished, you could put a little couple of stitches in. It's fine, no rules. Do the best you can. So we need a little turning gap. So let's get so far. I always do a back stitch, and that gives your turning gap strength. So, oh, June says Duxford is too far for me to travel. Unfortunately, I hope you have a great time. Yeah, June, we will do Facebook Lives. We'll give you updates of what's happening. But I'll be taking some patterns and templates. Yeah, and I'm going to be talking to people about our fabulous online sewing group. Get some more recruits. My machine sounds like it needs an oil. I don't know if this machine needs an oil. I don't know if you can oil it. I'll have to look in the manual. Probably could do with the service. I was looking at my other little Juki today. I was telling Kath. Oh, and it's just such a wonderful machine. It really is. They had something similar on Create and Craft over the weekend. And, you know, it's just a fabulous machine, honestly. Yeah, straight stitch only. But like today, that's all we're using, isn't it? So I've just finished stitching, as I said, where I stopped stitching before. So I don't know if you'll see, I've got different coloured threads, it's perhaps easier. That's where I stopped stitching before, where my mark was. And that's where I stopped stitching just now. So it's just about there. Just about there, and hopefully with the wind in the right direction, that's given us a nice little join there. We'll have a look, shall we? So let's just go to the overhead. So we've got our turning gap, so you're going to turn everything through with the turning gap. Now, because we haven't got any wadding or anything to get in our way, you only need a little turning gap. Put your hand right down to the bottom, grab hold and pull it through, and there's nothing in the world that's going to stop you pulling that through. There's no interfacing, there's no wadding, there's no bulk of any sort. It's lovely. So that's our bag. So we need to put it so it's with a lining inside, and obviously until it gets a nice press it's going to look like a dog's dinner. So this is the bottom that I'm pushing out there, so you can see how lovely and rounded that looks. So we'll ignore that for the moment. Let's have a look at the top. So the top is like this. Oh, we've got a couple of threads, hold on, let's get rid of that. So our top is like this, so it's nice and neat and it's nice and loose. And we've got to mark our top fabric now. Now in the pattern, let me tell you what step that is so you know exactly what I'm doing. Here we go. It's step number 7 we're going to do now, okay? But because this is now a certain measurement, I'm going to go on the front camera. It could do with another iron again, but let's just move on, otherwise we're never going to get it done because it's 1:45 now. So I knew I'd overrun. I hope you don't mind. So I'm going to get my pen, the ruler again. Let's hope I can get my ruler to work nicely. And I'm measuring down from the top. So you're measuring from the top edge of your bag, ladies and gents. You're not measuring it from the bottom, you're measuring it from the top. Okay, I'll show you when I've done. But like I said, if you buy the pattern, you'll have all the measurements there. But it's nice when you can follow along with the pattern. It's really lovely. Appreciate you all. And we'll just quickly do this drawing. So because you've pressed that lovely top edge and it's looking gorgeous, this will really help when we come to stitch all this down. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at that. Let's put my pen away now. I don't think I need it anymore. So now you've got to look fairly carefully. So what we've done is this is the outer bag, okay? This is my lining, okay? And I've drawn my line right across here. Hopefully you can see some of it, okay? And then eventually we're going to bring the top of our bag down to that line, and that's why we need it to be nice and pressed and nicely drawn and accurate. Okay, but we're going to come to the exciting bit now, where we sort our hoops out. And like I said, I haven't done anything in advance because I wanted you to see it all and then you'll understand why bias in this instance is really, really useful. So we're going to split our hoop up. So let's just undo it a bit so I can split it. So there's one, obviously. I've got my hot glue gun ready. I'll switch it on in a minute. And you're going to close this second hoop up, your outer hoop normally, as tight as you can, so there's hardly any gap there, okay? So you want that to be nice and tight. The binding and everything will hold it together. Some you'll have you're able to put a screwdriver in the end of there and tighten it up. I mean, that finger tight is fine. And you have this long bit here, so we have to sort of cover that so it's not dangerous or anything. Okay, so let's switch my glue gun on. Let's hope that it works for me, because my glue guns can be temperamental. Now I've just cut long lengths of wadding. I've given you rough measurements depending on what size hoop you use, and you're going to start where on this one on the metalware is. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on my hoop and just stick my wadding on there, and you can see I've stuck it at an angle. Okay, I stuck it in an angle, yeah. And then you're just going to wind it around, and because we're using a fairly narrow piece of wadding, it allows you to stretch it, and you want to make sure first of all that it doesn't twist, but you want to overlap it, and in the pattern are very, very clear pictures of what that all looks like. So you're overlapping by maybe ½ an inch, maybe, but you want quite a thin wrapping, okay, a thin layer. You don't really want this to be bulky, not really. It's a waste of wadding anyway. And you're going to take it all the way around. You can tell now why I've kept my binding on the card, because it's easier to keep it all together. So I'm holding it with my hands just to hold it still. I'm not doing anything tricky here. I'm just moving it. Now the wadding is just made up of fibres, and it allows you to stretch it, a bit like bias. So it will fit nicely around your hoop, and we're just going to take it all the way around. So you don't need a lot. And I'm using 80-20. If you've got polyester, use that. But you want it a nice padding, so nothing. You don't want interfacing. You know, you don't want a stabiliser. You want wadding, like you'd use in a quilt. And you can see how it gets all twisted up. Oh, let's see how quick we can do it. So I've come nearly to the end. I'm just going to chop that bit off and just finish off like this, covering up my metal piece. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue there and bring my wadding up and glue it together. Really lovely. So that's the first one done. I could do without those wrinkly edges, but I don't know why that's happened, but there we are. So I'll just put that one there. And if you remember, I said to you that this little bulky bit's going to go inside the channel that you've made. So I'm going to use the scrap that I just cut off. This time we can start anywhere. A little bit of glue, just to hold it firm. Tuck that up, and then we can just wrap that around. It shouldn't take too long this time. It's much easier if you have it rolled up on a piece of card or something, or a shorter piece. You can see now I'm whizzing through because the piece is shorter, and because it's wadding, it stretches and fits to your hoop. Is everybody enjoying this? Is everybody going to have a go? Is anybody going to make it? You're going to look at your embroidery hoops in a different way. And if you use a really small one, a 4-inch, maybe you're going to make it for a small person, then just obviously cut down your fabric accordingly. And you could do this with a 4-inch hoop, 3-inch hoop even. So we're just coming to the end again, so I'm just going to chop that away. Let's just get that out of there. Just bring it all the way round. Jan says she's going to give it a go. Violet says I think so. It looks great. And yeah, lovely pattern. Anita says deep in concentration. That's Anita, yeah. Me too, Anita. You and me both. Obviously be careful with your fingers with hot glue. I'm kind of used to it now. So there's our 2 hoops now padded. So now we've got our bias. Now I said 3/4 of an inch because it's just easier to wrap with a wider bias. If you've got one that's 1 inch, as long as you've got some sort of stretch on it, then 1 inch is fine. So we're going to do the same again. We're going to start where we finished off before. Just going to grab that piece there again. Look, you can see I've done it at an angle. And this time you're going to wrap it around. And this time you're kind of going to tighten this up. So as you go round, you're taking that binding and you're wrapping it tightly. Let me just get that in a better position. So that's quite tight. You're not doing this loose. You're putting some pressure in your binding now, because any sort of layers you've got with your wadding, you don't want that to show. You want it to be smooth. So just take it all the way around. And yeah, you will get in a muddle. I promise it. This is not desperately easy with the length of binding that you will need to use. I've given you a length, I think, did I say about 60? I mean, to be honest, if you wanted to do it in 2 lots, you could, if that's easier for you. But you can see I spend more time getting this piece of cardboard through than I do anything else. So you can see, whoops, you can see I'm doing it tight, and you can see I'm overlapping just by a whisker. And it shouldn't really come apart. You shouldn't need to stitch it or glue it. If you want to add extra glue, of course you can, do what you like. But you shouldn't really need it. It should hold its own. So just taking it round. And it'll all get twisted. You can see it gets twisted, and it's like, oh, for goodness sake, whose idea was this? But the end result is super, and you can see what it looks like. So neat. But you need it to be tight. I'm pulling it and I'm tightening it. I'm layering it and I'm tightening it. So let's just keep doing that. And if you've cut a length, you might find it easier now. Let's just cut it. Let me just cut a big piece off. There we go. Let's hope I've got enough. To be honest, if you have to do a join, it doesn't really show that much. So don't worry too much. But just keep wrapping like this. Now, funnily enough, I'm not going to name names, but I saw a pattern very similar to this over the weekend, and it had it had the fabric with it, and it was about £26. It was similar, not the same, but it was similar. And I thought, you know what, a pattern for £1.25 and using an embroidery hoop that you got knocking around from goodness knows when, because I've got so many kits from Rowan-Dean now, it's crazy. And it's putting to good use what you've got in your stash. That was a lucky guess, wasn't it, with my length of bias. Let's just pick that up and move that. There we go. I think I've caught it. Yeah, so that's the first one. Yeah, looks nice, doesn't it? I love the spot. So let's quickly do the next one. I think what I'll do is unwind some. Let's take it all off the card. I've got far too much here, it's ridiculous. This bias binding Now, our Jackie Thomas should be able to help me with this. I think it came from Pound Fabrics, I think. Don't quote me. But I think this was ridiculous price, like £2 a card. I don't know how much is on there. I don't think it says, just says bias binding. But there's probably a good 2 meters. Yeah. So it's always worth checking out these places. Pound Fabrics, I think, or is it Fabric? If our Jackie Thomas is watching, she might be able to tell us. So look, you can see I'm covering up where all the hardware is now. So although it's a bit bulky, it actually, you can cover it. Do the same technique as what we did before. So wrapping, making it nice and tight. And just take it round. Keep at that angle. It's not, it's not 45 degrees. I'd say more like 30 degrees if you want an angle. And it's just a case of wrapping, keeping it tight, because that tight wrap will sort of flatten out your wadding. I don't know if I've got enough here, but we'll see. Can always add a bit. So just keep going. Yeah, now who? Oh, Jackie, there we are. Jackie's just put a little comment on there. The packs are vary from 3 meters to 5 meters, and it's great. It's just perfect for these sort of jobs. And I've used it on Daffy, our lovely pin needle case. Gosh, I've used it quite a few times over the last couple of months. So, you know, take advantage of things like that. It's always good. Do you know, I don't think I'm going to have enough, but you won't tell anybody, will you? I would always err on the side of caution. So if I said 60 inches, I would cut 80. You can always use that piece of something else. Look, we're going to run out. And it also depends on your wrapping. I'll be honest, if you're wrapping too much, if you're wrapping, you know, nearly the whole piece again, oh, look at this, do you think? I can't believe it. If that is too short, which it's definitely going to be, look at that, it's ridiculous. For goodness sake. So let's, where did I put it? On the floor. I'm going to join it. To be honest, it's going to go in the you know, the seam, if you were, the fold over. So let's just join those two together. That's it. We'll just take that around. Yeah, we know what that's called, don't we? So I'm going to just take that around, tighten it, bring it up, a little bit of glue. Just, and then squidge that down, and there we are, done. So we've got the 2 handles done. So we've got a couple of minutes to go, ladies, so I'm going to do my best to do this as quickly as I can, but obviously still showing you the techniques, because this is really important. So we'll go to the machine. Let me just switch the view. Okay, so let's just take one of our hoops. Now, it doesn't matter which one you do, but what does matter is that first couple of inches. So this is the line that I've drawn just here. You can just see it. You've got to put your hoop on top of your fabric, and don't worry about anything else other than getting your first bit pinned. So let me just show you that. Okay, so there's our first bit pinned. Can you see? I quite like that blue spot with that. So the top of my bag is totally on top of the line we've just drawn. I don't know if you can, if I hold it right. So there's the line I've drawn there, along there. And that top edge, which I said to you must be well pressed, is going to go against that line all the way along. Now it's quite tricky. It's not difficult, it's just tricky. So open that up flat, so we've got the other half, if you like, out of the way. You can see what that looks like. You're going to pop it under your machine needle, and we're just going to do that first bit. I'm going to take my pin out because now my needle is in my fabric. It's anchoring that down. I'm going to do a nice back stitch and then come forward again. And I'm going to stitch about a 1/16 of an inch, you can do more, on that top piece of fabric here, okay? And all the time the fabric is being channeled onto my hoop. So it just takes a little bit of time. So just keep threading your fabric through the hoop, matching the top to that line. Don't worry about anything else that's going on. Just ignore the hoop, ignore the rest of the bag. You're just concentrating on that top edge on your drawn line. Okay? If you're worried, you shouldn't have any problems with that hoop being there. It's a long way away. It's 2 inches away at least. If you're worried about catching it, just make sure it is out of the way, but you could use your zipper foot. There's absolutely no reason why not. So look, I'm threading the fabric through the hoop just a little bit at a time, and let's just make sure I've got that straight, not too much. Just try and keep it straight. Okay, I hope you can see enough to give you that confidence to give it a go. There we go. Just keeping my finger there. So we're just coming up to the end, look. So I'm just threading a little bit more through. There we go. Now the hoop that I've just chosen is let's call it the plain hoop, the hoop with no hardware. When we come to do the next side with the hardware, I want you to have your hardware over here, not by your machine, just in case you catch it. You shouldn't do, like I say, there's plenty of room. You can see I've got tons of room. So just ease it all round. Bring your top down on your straight line there. I would suggest that you don't pin this at all. I suggest that you're really brave and you just stitch it as I'm doing now. Okay, just take your time with it. Just take your time. Now, you might find when you get to this end here, because I've been pulling that fabric and keeping it tight, this end might be too big for what you've got left. Now, all I want you to do is ease it in. Bring it so your corner is on the edge. You see where my finger is? Make sure that's okay. But the rest, I want you to ease in. It's all going to be pleated and gathered up anyway. So just keep everything straight. Let's just bring that round a little bit. But I want you to ease it in. That's just the natural way, because we've been pulling on the fabric as we've gone along. And you might say, well, if you pinned it, that wouldn't have happened. You're right. But I would say avoid pins like the plague. I really would, because you're going to hurt yourself. So that's our first side done. Look at that. It's amazing. And I'll show you in a minute how you can make it reversible. So we'll just get that one out of the way, and I'm going to get the other side up. Okay, this is my other side. I'm just going to turn it around. Just get that handle out of your way. So with the hardware, you're going to have it over here. Okay, you're not going to have it anywhere near your machine. Okay. Oh, Leslie's gone. Night, Leslie. She's obviously got a hot date somewhere. So who's going to find out what Leslie's hot date was? So I'm just pushing that bag handle out of the way so you can see. And what we're going to do is start and go reverse and come back. And we're going to do exactly the same again. Top edge on that lovely line. So I'm going to go a little bit faster. You just take your time. You're not in a race. Well, I'm not in a race really, but just keep adjusting. Keep bringing your fabric through and lining it up. I would say this is not difficult, but it's fiddly. Okay, just get that hoop out of the way. There we are. It's just a little bit fiddly, and what you could tack it, but if you think how much gathering there is on that hoop, I still think you'd have difficulty stitching that with it even tacked, you know, basted. I think just trust yourself, enjoy it, don't get het up. Get a glass of sherry, you'd be amazed how good you are at things after a glass of sherry. Is anybody else left? Do we know if anybody's gone on a hot date? So I'm just bringing my fabric through, look. Because, you know, if somebody says, I've got to go, you think, oh, why? What are they doing? What are they doing and I'm not doing? How come they're getting all the fun? Mind you, I have gone out twice in the last couple of weeks. So, and you'll probably find if you use a larger hoop, this is a 6-inch, so if you use a larger hoop, you might find that easier for you. So let's just ease this in again. We're coming nearly to the end. So line your top up. Oops, just keep doing that and you won't go far wrong. Take your time. Just keep that on the edge if we can. And if you go wriggly, don't worry about it. You could always hand stitch some lovely lace across it, and then nobody will ever know, will they? And I won't know. In fact, I think putting some lace on it is a brilliant idea. Right, so we come up to the end, so I'm just going to line my corner up with the edge of my fabric where my line is, and I'm going to ease the rest in. Now, easing in just means that you perhaps might put a little pleat in there, or a little tuck, just so the fabric fits. Because like I said before, we've been pulling and tugging at this fabric all the way across, and it's amazing how much it'll stretch. It really will. Because it all started off the same width and you think, well, how's that possible? It's because we've been pulling it around. There we go. Right, let's just get that out from under the needle. So do you see there's my hardware there? So that's going to go right inside. Okay, let's just turn that around. So that's gone right inside. So that's the top of my bag. And here is the other top. So there's my two handles there. So now I want to show you something. So quick, before it's nearly, we don't want to get to 1/4 past, that's just too much. So on the overhead there, this is my bag all finished. It looks beautiful. I love it so much. And there's our fabulous little frill at the top there. And don't forget, you could hand stitch some lace on there if you're not happy with how it looks. But what you can do if you wanted to, and don't forget I haven't stitched my turning gap yet, you can, if you want to, make it so it goes the other way. So your lining becomes your outer, and your stitching, if you like, your flap over, your frill, whatever you want to call it, has gone to the inside of your bag. So all of a sudden you've got a completely different looking bag. If I do it that way, that's perhaps a bit better. And if we bring this down, you can see that that has gone to the inside of the bag. Now, that's not bad for a cheapy little pattern, is it? So you've got the choice. You've got the choice of which way you have it. So you can have it like this. God, it looks great, doesn't it? Or I prefer this side because of the little hearts. And it's the colours of the month for us in our members group, in our fabulous Lizzie's fabulous sewing group. So bring the handles down, And there we have bag number 2. I love it. And there's the inside, and it's massive because this all spread out. All this gathering will move and give you huge amounts of room to put stuff in. So there it is. There's our project for this week. It's B10 and it's called Hikari. And she's on the website now, so go and have a look. Go to the website lizziecurtis.com and look for MIM patterns, Making It Monday. And in about the next 10 minutes, fingers crossed, if YouTube is kind to me and my website is kind to me, I will put the video on the pattern as well in the video tutorial, so you'll get that. But you've got this, so you can always look back at that. So there we are, that's our bag. I hope you've had a lovely evening watching. I really appreciate your company. I'll be, excuse me, I will be back with you next Monday as well. So look out for that. Don't know what I'm making yet, but no doubt it'll be a nice little pattern from us. It'll be B11 something. And obviously I'll see all my fabulous sewing members on Thursday night as normal. We're going to finish off that mat, and we've definitely got some stitching to do on our journal pages, so lots to do on Thursday. If you're not a member, go to my website and click on subscriptions and see what you get. If you're a platinum member, you get all our Making It Monday projects for free. Why not? Right, I will see you all very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.